Hi everyone and welcome to Learning Objective 3-1. In this learning objective, we are going to talk about understanding and distinguishing among the four types of data analytics in performing our test plan. Now in Module 1, we introduced the impact cycle. The impact cycle summarized all the things that we do in accounting analytics. The accounting analytics process starts with first identifying the question, I, in the impact cycle. And then in Module 2, we got into mastering the data, M. This module, Module 3, will be talking about the P in this process, so performing the test plan. And then in subsequent modules will continue on with the rest of the impact cycle. But within this perform the analysis cycle, there are four types of data analytics that we can perform. Now these four types are descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. And let's talk a little bit about what each of these methodologies does, what our goal is in each of these methodologies. What we do as accountants is primarily backwards looking. So when we prepare financial statements as accountants, we are preparing financial statements that use data from the past. So we are reporting what happened last year to investors, or to creditors, to banks lending us money, or to employees, or competitors, or regulators. All these different groups that use the financial statements, we are communicating to them what has happened last year. Backward-looking information, hindsight, we're looking backwards, okay? Now, this has traditionally been the role of accountants, but as data is becoming more and more available, as there are more data points about more business processes available, the role of the accountant needs to change from primarily looking backwards to also looking forwards. Now that backwards information, the stuff that has happened already, that has value because it validates what we observed in our own performance. It provides us a baseline of what to expect going forward. We had $1 million of sales this year. We expect to have 2% growth next year. And so we're going to calculate as our prediction of revenue next year, 1 million plus 2% on top of that. And so that 1 million historical number becomes the starting point for us to make some prediction about the future. So that historical information is still important. But as accountants, we need to move past just looking at the historical information to also looking at data that can help us predict what's going to happen in the future. And that will be our value as the profession moves forward with the availability of data exploding. So we need to move from taking information and looking at hindsight to moving towards optimizing the business and having foresight about things that will happen. And as we move through this process, the level of difficulty in what we do ratchets up. So descriptive analytics is the first type of data analytics that we'll be using. What are descriptive analytics? Well, descriptive analytics are all about answering the question, what happened? What were the average sales for the company over the last 5 years? What was the maximum? What was the minimum? What was the standard deviation of monthly sales throughout the year? A lot of descriptive type of statistics where we're trying to just understand what happened, why we're not yet looking at why it happened, okay? So descriptive is trying to understand from the data what happened. As we move into the next type of analytics, diagnostic analytics, we are trying to understand why the thing that happened that we figured out in the descriptive step, why that thing happened. Why were our sales what they were? We were down 2% this year in sales. Why were we down? Was it related to a single customer? Did we have a large contract 2 years ago that we didn't have this year? So all of these types of questions come out of diagnostic analytics. And then, so descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics are all looking at questions that are related to the past. If we want to move forward as a profession, we need to think about what will happen in the future, and given what will happen in the future, or given our best guess of what will happen in the future. What should we do about it now? So the third and the fourth types of analytics here are predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics. So predictive analytics are about estimating what will happen, and prescriptive analytics are about, given what we expect to happen, what should we do now to best position the business for that thing that we expect to happen in the future. We expect sales to decline 5% next year. What should we do now so that doesn't impact our bottom line? If sales are going down 5%, we should adjust our costs. We should lower our cost as well so that we don't lose money. We should even out our revenue with our costs so that we're closer to break even. Okay, so all these types of questions come out of, making a prediction about what will happen in the future and then trying to assess what we should do about it now to make adjustments on the fly. So on your screen now, you will see a list of different types of data analytics and then an example of the different types of data analytics, right? So we have descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and then also prescriptive analytics. And within each of these categories, there are different things that we can do. Let me give you an example. So descriptive analytics, we could look at summary statistics. We could look at reducing our data from a large data set to something smaller and more manageable. So a summary statistic would be something like an average. What's the average income? What's the median income, right? So that the median would also be a summary statistic. What is the maximum? What's the minimum? What's the range between the highest and lowest values? These are all summary statistics. Something that you should have seen in some of your stat classes here at LaSalle. Now, data reduction and filtering are, we're trying to zero in on a particular aspect of the data. So as an example, let's say our sales are down 2%. We want to know why our sales are down 2%. So to get ready for diagnostic analytics, we might filter different categories of our sales. So if we have multiple product lines, we might descriptively list those product lines, disaggregate those product lines, and look at those revenue items for those different product lines separately so that we can isolate the cause of the 2% decline in sales when we move into the diagnostic phase. Now with diagnostic analytics, we can do profiling, we could do clustering, we could do similarity matching, we could look at co-occurrence, and all of these techniques we're going to look at in more detail as we perform our labs. But for now, know that these are the different types of diagnostic analytics. And as we get into predictive and prescriptive analytics, the sophistication of the statistical techniques that we're using are going to greatly increase. So as we move into predictive analytics, we're going to do things like regression. So we're going to try to develop a model to predict some outcome variable using some independent explanatory variables. Right? So we're going to try to predict an outcome using data. We could also look at classification, we could look at link prediction in predictive analytics. And then within prescriptive analytics, we could create decision support systems, we could develop AI, artificial intelligence, to advise us on what we should do given the data that we have. So very, very sophisticated, very powerful tools in these third and fourth categories of data analytics. All right, well in this video we discussed Learning Objective 3-1, where we discussed the 4 different types of data analytics that we can use. And thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon. Take care.